hey, it'll be worth it if this sets up for the Super Smash Bros. Universe, right? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 animated adventure film, The Super Mario Bros. Movie. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Super Mario Bros. Movie stars the vocal talents of Chris Pratt, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Jack Black, and was co-directed by Horvath and Michael Jelenic. It tells the story of plumber Mario, who must find his brother Luigi after they're transported to an alternate world. There are few things that instantly and almost unanimously cause skepticism in the film-going community quite like the phrase video game adaptation. There are plenty of possible explanations for the trend, but for whatever reasons, video game movies are very rarely good. There are a few exceptions, and most people will have a nostalgic pick or two that they'll defend despite the film not being any good, but most of these movies are severely underwhelming when compared to the game that they're adapting. Mario is arguably the most recognizable and well-known video game character of all time, and there are probably very few people who haven't played a Super Mario or Super Mario adjacent game at some point in their lives. This obviously makes Mario a prime candidate for a movie adaptation. We have already had one such adaptation, the infamous and very, very bizarre 1993 live-action Super Mario Bros., but we've gone 30 years without Mario on the big screen, and this is the first time we've had a Mario movie that actually sorta resembles the games. I realize this isn't even remotely a high bar, but this new Super Mario Bros. Movie is a good deal better than the 1993 film. That said, this movie is fairly average. I know that's not the most interesting thing to hear about a movie, especially in the film-going era where extreme opinions are heralded, but it's the truth with this one. The story here is extremely simple, and just about the most basic plot you could extract from the Super Mario franchise. Mario embarking on a rescue mission, while simultaneously trying to stop Bowser in order to protect the Mushroom Kingdom. This film does introduce a slight reversal from the game's standard by making Princess Peach one of the rescuers rather than the one in need of rescue, but other than that, the plot doesn't deviate from that of the most basic rescue mission story. It's circular, and frankly, a bit of a nothing kind of story. Now, that isn't necessarily bad, just kind of average. But the number of abandoned plot threads and the comparative lack of the Mario Brothers actually together in a Super Mario Bros. Movie do add to the story disappointment. Apart from the simple fact that this is a video game movie, I think one of the things that contributed to the skepticism about this film when it was first announced was the voice cast. I mean, I know I certainly raised an eyebrow at seeing Chris Pratt's name next to Mario. As somebody who grew up with the games, I've always had a very specific, albeit stereotypical accent associated with this character in my mind. And I'll tell you right now, apart from one self-aware joke in the movie, Pratt does not do the Mario accent. Instead, he does a version of a Brooklyn accent, which in the context of the story makes sense. And I'll admit that after a few lines of dialogue, I was used to it, and it didn't really bother me like I thought it would. And everybody else was fine too. Charlie Day as Luigi, Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, Jack Black was good as Bowser, alternating between channeling a Jim Cummings villain voice and his typical goofy Jack Black self, and even Seth Rogen was fine as Donkey Kong. That one took the most time to get used to, because it's distractingly just Seth Rogen's natural voice, but it eventually kind of fits the character. Although the Super Mario Bros. Movie comes up short on a number of fronts, it excels when it comes to nostalgia-inducing references, Easter eggs, and fan service. I am not a Mario superfan by any means, but I did play a lot of the games growing up. Super Mario World and Mario Paint were my first two video games, and I've played dozens of other Mario and Mario-adjacent games since, including such hits as Mario Tennis. But besides Super Mario World, Mario Kart 64 and Super Smash Bros. Were among my most played, and this movie is loaded with references to all of them. The platforming style of the early games, the various power-ups, the different enemy types, Koopas, Goombas, Shy Guys, Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi's Island, and a certain colorful road all make fun appearances. The movie's also packed with nostalgic audio cues, ranging from the pipe sound effects to two classic Nintendo raps, to the incorporation of iconic Mario musical themes into the film's score. It's a satisfying nostalgic bonanza for fans, but stepping outside of my fan experience, I recognize just how random and confusing much of the film probably would be to someone unfamiliar with some of the games. Aside from the Mario and Nintendo skin, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is pretty typical for Illumination entertainment. It's simple, goes for broad, younger-aimed appeal, and is, well, okay. The animation's pretty decent, and there are some fun action scenes, but the humor was very hit or miss for me. Obviously, your mileage will vary in that regard, but the insecure Bowser gag got dull for me very fast. Luckily, Mario and Luigi's humor was pretty good throughout, and this movie featured a surprisingly nihilistic for a kids movie gem with Lumily, who got consistent chuckles from me and the 4 other people who were in the theater. So, was this movie great? No. Was it awful? Also no. It falls solidly within the typical expectations for a video game movie, with its poor pacing and underdeveloped story, but delivered enough nostalgic Mario fun to have me mildly interested in the prospect of an SSBU, or Super Smash Bros. Universe. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro is the fan service. I know this usually takes on a negative connotation, so we can call it nostalgia, references, Easter eggs, or whatever you prefer. The point is, there are a ton of things in this movie that'll have fans, or even people who just casually played some of the games, excited. Lines of dialogue, level designs, blink and you miss it Easter eggs, gameplay mechanics, it's all in there. I was especially surprised and excited by just how much Mario Kart was incorporated, but this movie pulls elements from at least a dozen different Mario games, which ends up being much more satisfying than expected. Pro number 2 is kind of a specific offshoot of the first pro, and is the music. The original score itself was fine, and the popular songs periodically used throughout were expected, but my favorite aspect of this was the way the classic Mario themes were incorporated. Again, mostly just a big hit of nostalgia, but it was great to hear the main theme song, the overworld music, the invincibility music, and even Bowser playing my favorite version of the underground theme. On the con side, the biggest issue is the story. I want to be clear that it's not bad, just exceptionally average. It introduces some interesting ideas, like the concept of parallel alternate worlds, pipe transport, and Peach's origins, but doesn't really do anything with them, unceremoniously dropping a bunch of plot threads in favor of an undercooked rescue plot and an annoying Bowser motivation subplot. The flipping of Luigi and Peach's roles in the story was interesting, but unfortunately, it really cuts into the film's ability to have many Mario and Luigi interactions, which is, something I think people would expect and want from a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying the Super Mario Bros. Movie, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give the Super Mario Bros. Movie 3 out of 5 paws. This film certainly threatens to drop to a completely average 2.5 paws with its mediocre story, but the nostalgia from its various references and fan service give this the boost of an invincibility star, pushing it to the positive side of average. I would recommend the Super Mario Bros. Movie to fans of the Super Mario franchise, or those just looking for simple, family-friendly entertainment. As a movie, there's not really all that much to it, but for people who grew up playing Super Mario Bros., Mario Kart, and any number of other Mario games, there's gonna be plenty of smile-inducing moments of nostalgic recognition for you. If you liked the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I would recommend Detective Pikachu. This live-action Pokemon movie was a bit of a surprise for me, pulling from a comparatively unknown spin-off game, but crafting a fun mystery comedy within the Pokemon world. It's probably the best live-action Nintendo movie we've had, which I suppose isn't that big of a feat, and it's also loaded with fan service for people who enjoy the games and the franchise in general. If you want another surprisingly decent video game adaptation, you should check out Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a Sega movie, which might knock it out of contention on principle alone for Nintendo diehards, but it's a fun, cinematic imagining of the character that incorporates gameplay, music, and plenty of Easter eggs from the games. And if you really like Mario, I'm gonna suggest the 1993 live-action Super Mario Bros. This isn't really a recommendation, since I don't know if I could physically bring myself to recommend this bizarre movie, but it does share in the Brooklyn origins for the brothers, and it is a very unique early 90s time capsule. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what movie would you be most excited to see in a Super Smash Bros. Universe? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.